Well, the next film that we're taking a look at this year's Monster Fest is the brand new movie called States of Mind, which is a little bit of a psychological thriller, I guess is the best way to call it. The man behind the film is Baker, and he's actually joining us on the phone right now to chat all about this brand new film. Welcome to the program, mate.
Thanks very much for having me.
No worries. Now, mate, tell us a little bit about States of Mind. Where did this film idea first come about for you?
Oh, look, States of Mind is essentially about a meditation retreat in a haunted house. So, what could go wrong? It was basically born for a couple of reasons. I'd done a previous film called Blue World Order as an independent sort of sci-fi, and then had the rights to a Matthew Riley novel called Contest, which is going to be a much larger film that I was trying to get up. And so that was quite a big film and was taking its time finding the lead and whatnot. And then COVID hit, of course. So that sort of kiboshed that project for a while, and we looked around to find something that was self-contained and manageable and able to be done sort of in a single location and whatnot. And I looked at the resources I had. So I had this fantastic group of actor friends who, for whatever reason, hadn't necessarily hit the Hollywood big time yet, even though they were really good. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to write something specifically for them to kind of showcase their talents. So we looked at this amazing house that we found just outside of Sydney in Camden, and I wrote an ensemble piece for them that we could shoot in this one amazing location.
So where did the idea about it being a meditation retreat, where did that come from? Was that something that kind of interested you yourself, or where did that come from?
Yeah, look, it was, I've been interested in that kind of thing personally for a long time. It was funny because I have an interest in, I'm a bit of a hobby scientist and whatnot, and I had an interest in sort of the states of consciousness and things. And so I knew everything about meditation. I knew all the science facts and the studies and blah, blah, blah. And then I sort of said to myself one day, yeah, but you've never actually done it. So I went to this kind of free seminar as a bit of research to meet all the eclectic characters who turn up for these things. And it was full of, every person from every walk of life. And then, the guru, I guess you'd call him, the leader walks in, and he was a very Caucasian white male, dressed in white robes with an Indian dot in his head, and his name was Prachar, and it was very, it was straight out of a movie, actually. It was great to kind of get an idea of the kinds of people who seek these things out. And he made all kinds of claims about meditation, and it solve all the problems in your life, get rid of all your stress, make life easier. And I thought, well, they're pretty big claims, so even if 10% of it is true, it's worthwhile. So I committed to saying, he said the only catch is you have to actually do it. So I said I'll do it every day for 6 months and see how we go. And sort of 4 years later, it's actually part of my morning lifestyle routine now. So it's quite an interesting thing. But I think it was the characters that turned up and what people think of meditation, and even sort of the extension of that into kind of psychics and wellness, and that whole community is very rich for story.
Yeah. So having those actors in mind and then going to this event and meeting all these different characters, were you kind of looking around this event thinking, hey, that character would match up with this actress or that actor? Were you kind of doing that at the time?
Yeah, look, it was certainly to inform it, and it did add a lot of texture to the people I had in mind. I knew that they were capable of playing a range of characters, but I sort of saw the backgrounds of the different people who came along to these kind of open seminars, I guess, and that really helped inform, my friend Jack can play a French hippie sort of thing, who's traveling the world, going to every retreat and seminar he can, and another friend can be a sort of the $2 psychic from Byron Bay who, owns a crystal shop, and then, the other people are sort of a martial arts practitioner who has it as part of his practice, and then some international exchange students who are into the yoga class, and then they start expanding further into, the wellness community and meditation and psychics and that sort of thing. So it certainly helped inform what each character would be a little bit more with a bit more clarity, I guess.
So when did taking all of those characters and taking an event like that and placing it into a haunted house, when did the haunted house element kind of come into it for you?
Look, I think it was almost, I think the haunted house came first because I just came across this venue, which was a private residence, but I went and visited this place like years ago, and we just looked around, and it was the most amazing house. And at the time, I was like, "We've got to shoot a horror movie here. This is perfect." And the owner said, "Oh yeah, we'll get some filming done, but we've never sort of done a horror movie there." And at that stage, I didn't necessarily have anything in mind, but it as the kind of meditation retreat idea started to solidify, because that was a good way to bring an ensemble cast together. The idea of, where would I do it? And then instantly this house came to mind, because it's almost like it was ready-made for this. I'm sure there's a few spirits living there anyway, once you go research.
Yeah. So when you started to tell your friends, the actors and actresses about this film, what was their reactions about getting parts in this film?
Look, I think, they were all enthusiastic, but I think as an actor you learn to not take anything for granted. When someone says, "Hey, I'm writing a movie for you," they're like, "Okay, yeah, that's cool, that's nice. What would you like to drink?" So I think as it got more real, they got a bit more interested and serious, and actors living. I sort of always say, in Australia in particular, there's acting, and then there's living the lifestyle of an actor, and the acting is the 5% that everyone loves, but living the lifestyle of an actor is really challenging, because you're constantly at the end of a massive decision chain and a whole bunch of whims and a whole bunch of things outside of your control. So being able to not attach your self-worth and self-esteem to whether you're booking roles or not is a very important part of living as an actor.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of my actor friends were, pretty, I don't want to say they took it all with a grain of salt, but, they didn't believe it when they saw it. But as we got closer and, got a script and whatnot, and I really wanted to have them contribute to their own characters a little bit. So I shared the script with them fairly early on, and they were able to bring a bit of their own personality to those roles. Then it sort of started to get a lot more real. And yeah, it came together, and I think we ended up with a fantastic little chemistry mix.
Definitely. And there's so many brilliant performances in this as well. Shailene Connors, Vanessa Malton, Christy Wordsworth, Kieran Saar. They're all fantastic in this film. What was it like on set working with such a talented cast?
Oh, look, people like Shailene and Vanessa are, they're those kind of girls who are, they're always competing for the superstar roles, because they're both, very, very appealing, attractive young, talented girls who are not necessarily landing roles over here at the moment. It depends what's available. So having those two be able to play opposite each other was really good, and the challenge was being able to make sure we could make their characters different enough that they weren't, they weren't the same, the same character. And so it was really good to work with them to bring out those nuances to differentiate them. And then look by default, the other characters were quite different. I wanted a really good mix of gender, ethnicity, and age, and whatnot. And Kieran Shah, who is just a legend. I met him on when I was over in New Zealand on The Hobbit, and Kieran has been in everything. He's been in all the Lord of the Rings, all the Game of Thrones, all the Star Wars, all the Indiana Jones, Doctor Who, Superman stunt double. He's quite literally a legend of the industry, and we're actually about to start doing a documentary on his career, which is very exciting. But I had a chat with him one day. So Kieran, for context, he's about just under 4 feet tall. He's the world's littlest stuntman. And he's just been announced for honours in I think MBE. I hope I get the acronym right. So sort of the highest civilian honours you can get for his contribution to the film industry. And I was having a chat with Kieran on the set of The Hobbit, and he's often playing a creature or a stunt person or whatnot. And I said, "Oh, are you interested in acting? And do you want to do more acting?" And he said, "Oh, look, I'd love to, but there's not a lot of roles around for people like me for that." And I said, "Mate, I'm going to change that one day." And sort of 10 years later, had the opportunity to ask him in quite a substantial role in this film. So that was great.
Now, I guess the big question that a lot of people are going to be asking is, of course, States of Mind is part of Monster Fest. So how do you feel about this film being screened this weekend to a Monster Fest audience?
Look, I'm actually really excited now. I watched the final DCP, so the file that actually goes to the cinema. I watched it the other day in a cinema to just double check there were no glitches or flashes of media offline or anything, which has now calmed my nerves. So I'm actually starting to get quite excited. Monster Fest is a fantastic showcase of genre films. Grant and the guys who put that all together are fantastic at giving opportunities to Australian films to reach an audience, and it's a bit of a tease for a later release. But there's some classic film franchises like Terrifier, and I think they've got Critters, and they've got a whole range of strong genre films. But then we've got things like Fear Below, which is a Matthew Holmes and Bronte Pictures film that is about a bull shark in the 1940s in a river, which was shooting sort of simultaneously to us. And just knowing those guys and they got flooded out with their location and everything. So knowing the behind the scenes story of projects like that, and then seeing them finally completed, and then with us as well, finally getting it completed and being able to celebrate that at a festival like Monster Fest, where we can come together as an Australian film community and support each other, I think is a really fantastic and valuable thing, because you meet the filmmakers at these events, you get to hear the stories, and you sort of get to share the war stories behind the scenes at something like Monster Fest, which is just a fantastic event for Australian and genre films.
Definitely, and we had Matthew on the show last week as well, and just the fact that Fear Below made it to the screen is monumental in itself. But mate, I've got to ask as well, because a lot of people will be asking this, if they don't get a chance to see States of Mind at Monster Fest, what are the plans for the film in the future?
Well, they just have to come and watch it at Monster Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we've got a theatrical release planned. We haven't got an exact release date yet, so it will be put out theatrically with Monster Pictures. So after this festival, we'll have a better idea of when we want to do. Part of it will depend on the international releases. So I'm off to Vegas in a couple of weeks for the American film market for AFM to sell the film internationally. And very often we want to try and release simultaneously around the world, if you can, in different territories, just to minimize piracy and all those kind of things that can have a real impact on releasing a film. So, you know, you can get the film, and once it's sort of sitting there and it's ready, the release strategy is very important. So we'll have a theatrical season in Australia, and then it'll go to the streamers and whatnot after that.
Awesome, mate. So to finish off, what would you like to say to people out there who are heading along to check out States of Mind at Monsterfest? And I should say, listeners, if you do want to go and see States of Mind at Monsterfest, go on to subcultureentertainment.com, because we will have all of the session times and ticket information up there for you. So, Shay, what would you like to say to people out there who are about to go and see it at Monsterfest?
Please come along. It's going to be, each event's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have cast and crew there for a Q&A. The film is just a bonkers fun thriller. You know, it's got a bit of tongue-in-cheek comedy. It's not too scary, so I think you can bring your teenage kid and your mama along to enjoy it as well. And it's quite a it's an elevated horror. You know, I wouldn't necessarily even call it a horror, but it's got a bit of story and substance behind it. Supporting Australian films is just vitally important to us getting an industry. So please come along and show your support and your love to States of Mind and the other Australian films in Monsterfest. You'll get to meet the filmmakers and come to after parties and hang out with people and hear all the behind the scenes stories. So and look, check out the trailer as well. I'll send that to Subculture, but we've had 10,000 views on our little trailer, Monsterfest trailer. So, yeah, it'll give you an idea of what the film's about.